Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, the site of the season finale of the Star Mazda Championship presented by Goodyear. It's round 12 of the 2008 championship season. Hi everybody, I'm Ralph Shaheen alongside sports car superstar Johnny O'Connell. One round to go. Johnny, we've had a great battle all season. Let's go back before the season finale today to the last round of Road Atlanta and set this one up a little bit because this was a barn burner.
Yeah, you had Dempsey leading Miller going into turn one. Miller just a master of the restart, overtakes Dempsey going into turn one, but they fight too long. That allows Edwards on the outside to gain position out of both, and then the fireworks started.
Yeah, watch what happens with Dempsey and Miller. They go flying off the racetrack. Meanwhile, Edwards disappears off in front of him as they all start to tuck back in.
Third to first. Now you've got Alex Ardoin and Dempsey working his way back through the field. Dempsey making a move going into turn 10A. Gets the position. This is for second place.
Yeah, but boy, it got real ugly from there as they come over the hill. Watch as Ardoin comes up the inside. Contact. They both go sliding off the racetrack. And that pretty much ends Dempsey's chances of the championship.
Yeah, you know, that absolutely eliminated. You could see how heartbroken he was over that incident. You know, one that was avoidable. Ardoin should have maybe given him a little bit more room there. But, hey, as it turns out, great day for John Edwards and certainly solidified his championship lead.
So Edwards gets the win at Road Atlanta. Miller does make it to the checkered flag. So as you take a look at the points before Laguna, 9 separate Edwards from Miller. Edwards just needs to get on the podium to lock up the title. Miller can win it. He's going to need some help. Dempsey, he's barely hanging on mathematically. And to complicate things even more, we've got a new driver on the pole. Here's Jamie Howe.
Richard Kent with Anderson Racing has put it on pole in his very first Star Mazda race. He's with a tremendous team. They have already clinched the team championship for the season, but the driver championship is still up for grab. And starting behind him will be Peter Dempsey, also with Anderson Racing. Peter, after your devastating blow at Road Atlanta, you're still mathematically in the championship chase, but it's going to be tough. How are you going to keep the other guys behind you?
All I'm going to do is just go out and try to win a race and finish the season on a high note. And the championship, I'm lucky enough it falls into place for me. It does, but if I can finish the season off and get a win for both my manager Anthony Murray and for myself, and second of all the team, that's all I can really do.
John Edwards, though, not going to give up easily. John is leading the championship coming into the race today. He's already won 4 races this season, looking for the 5th one. John, the championship, it's yours to lose today. How much pressure are you feeling?
Well, thanks for reminding me of it. But no, we've been pretty good in the practices. We were top 2 in every practice session. Unfortunately, qualified 3rd instead of on the front row. But I think we're in good shape. Obviously, Miller's behind us, so that's really key. And I don't even have to beat him to win the championship. So, you know, I'm definitely not going to be taking as many risks today. But I still want to win it because, you know, I want to get that 5th win of the season and have more than anyone. But just it's not going to be worth it to take as many risks today.
John won't be taking any risks, but starting behind him, also behind him in the championship, as he said, is Joel Miller in the number 20. Joel's moving up the Mazda speed ladder. Joel, all you have to do, you have to get around John, and you have to keep him behind you. Is that going to be possible today?
Yeah, I think so. In qualifying, we found we messed up a little bit on the corner weights, so exactly like you said, got to get to the front. I got to win, and he has to finish off the podium to win the championship. There's going to be no holding back in the race. We got to get to the front.
All right, guys, it could get dirty today. There's a lot up for grabs. All of these guys want the championship.
You know, and really we didn't talk about it enough, but Richard Kent, out of nowhere, this new guy hops into Charles Hall's, you know, vacated car, sticks it on the pole. You know, that's something these guys weren't expecting.
No, they weren't, but we are expecting a good race. The season finale for the Star Mazda Championship. We'll go green when we come back. Pretty scenery around the racetrack here at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, Monterey, California. Beautiful spot to go racing and a great day weather-wise for the season finale. Cars taking off now in the warm-up lap, Johnny, as we get set to get this one underway. A lot of tension for these guys in the title fight.
You know what? And I mentioned it before. Richard Kent comes out of nowhere, gets into a car. Charles Hall, and again, the final 4 or 5 races, all we heard was how that they were having problems with that car. One of the things teams like to do is change the helmet, and you can find out what a car's capable of. So Anderson Racing, really I think has been preparing 77 well all year, and for Kent to come in here, that makes it so difficult for Miller, Dempsey, and Edwards, because they don't know who this guy is. Now he's leading them all. They really came here thinking it was just going to be those 3 battling for a championship. Now you have this one person that could change the outcome of this race entirely.
And he's got absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. So for him, there's no reason for him not to run as absolutely hard as he can all day.
Well, and I've been in that situation where, you're in a race, you have nothing to lose, and those guys that you're fighting with for a championship, sometimes they just have to let you go because, number one, they don't know his driving style or anything. So it's going to be a challenging event for all of them.
Here's our Mazda starting grid scrolling across the top of the screen, and Ken actually tried to make a start earlier this year at Mosport, but had mechanical problems there and was not able to get the car qualified. So, and one thing that's kind of weird, the fact that he has not run a race yet this year, didn't get his entries in early in the season, he actually didn't get the point for the pole. That went to Dempsey.
Yeah, you know what, there's a rule, and
oh
man,
look at this. Dave House into the wall. That looks like it's up around turn 6.
Yeah, that looks like it's just after the bridge there, and boy, how you get into that position, I don't know. He might have just been over scrubbing his tires. This track does get very, very dirty. They have done an amazing job making it safe for the motorcycle race that goes on here, but you can see all that sand and gravel. It gets drawn onto the racetrack, and for cars, to race on this circuit sometimes is very difficult because of the amount of dirt on it. Could have been the case, but it looks like we're going to be under a pace car now.
Yeah, and there's a little confusion going on as the officials are trying to figure out exactly what to do, and the drivers are not really sure because they're thinking standing start, but the teams are all waving them on. Keep going, keep going. So now we're told the race is officially underway, but is under yellow.
Yeah, and why is this happening? Well, one of the things that goes on, this is a big ALMS final weekend and championships decided, so you're on a very tight time schedule. So in regards to that, it is better to keep these guys rolling so they will get more green flag laps during the race.
So no standing start here at Mazda Raceway. And there is House's car up on the hook. Now, Johnny, I would say that by not having to do the standing start, for a guy like Edwards who wants to keep his day as clean as he can, that could be an advantage because standing starts can be very tricky.
Yeah, but Joel Miller's the best guy in this series on restarts, and he's right behind Dempsey, so anything can happen here. It's going to be an exciting first corner.
Well, we hope to have some racing in anger for you when we come back to Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. Well, we didn't have a standing start here at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, but we will have a rolling restart to get the racing actually underway here. There's the green, and the season finale is underway.
Our first 4 players definitely got a good start there. Kent opens up a little bit of gap to Dempsey.
Down into the Andretti hairpin.
And the single file start here really kind of guarantees a little bit nicer activity going into turn 1 and 2 there.
Dipping a wheel. That's the kind of thing that'll get you angry, Johnny, kicking that dirt up. As you see Johnny Baker in the 5 car.
Well, and it makes it slippery for all the guys behind you. Now, Baker replaces Tom Gladys, another guy from England that didn't make it over for Anderson Racing. And sadly, it really kind of leaves Anderson holding the bag on a bunch of bills there. I hate seeing that because those are the type of things, whoa, big save there, but those are the type of things that guys can do that can really upset a team. And Anderson Racing, is a team of great integrity, and, I know that right now between Charles Hall and Gladys, they're out a chunk of change waiting for checks to arrive from England.
Edwards is in that red and white number 7, the points leader. Remember, he needs to just be on the podium to lock up the championship, and he would be there right now.
And Kent out front an awesome first lap. You know, throughout the history of the series, guys that can be good on cold tires, okay, and at the beginning of the race that can open up these gaps have historically went on to win championships, win lots of races, and so an awesome first lap there by Kent.
Miller sitting there in the black and blue car, the number 20 machine. He's in fourth. He's got to get around Edwards and put some distance between the two and a couple guys in between them.
Right now, he's got to stay close to Edwards. He's got to make things happen there.
A lot of brake smoke going down into the Andretti hairpin. That can be a pretty common problem down there. Kester is in that white car, and Reddick is in the black one with the blue trim.
So far, everybody doing a really nice job. There's Dempsey dropping wheel. That guy is, I tell you, if there's one guy that's impressed me with just flat-out speed, it's been Patrick Dempsey and his willingness to commit to things. I mean, the guy gives it 110% every single corner. Edwards, though, so clean, so tidy, almost Prost-like in his driving. You know, you never look at Edwards and think, man, that guy's fast, because he's very well controlled. And the same can be said for Miller. You know, two guys extremely consistent, extremely fast, and always at the front.
Well, he's saying he's like Alain Prost is quite the compliment.
Well, no, I mean, you look at their styles, you know, okay, he's a young Alain Prost. But, you know, and Miller, you know, Miller always up there. But he, you know, but for Sebring hasn't won. And so, you know, that ability to be consistent you like. The thing that, you know, has been cool to watch about Dempsey is his ability to push through, attack, get the wins, and the same can be said for Edwards. I mean, Edwards really should not have won Road Atlanta, but a superior racecraft and being smart allowed him to get that victory.
Boy, Dempsey is really hanging the wheels off, isn't he? He's pushing it all the way around.
Well, you know what? Dempsey, I think, is one of those guys that takes things personally. And when he sees, you know, Charles Hall's car in front of him, you know, and says, man, I don't want this new guy beating me. This is my home, my house. You know, I'm sure he's more focused on getting up to Richard Kent than anything else.
Well, the 2008 season for the Star Mazda Championship has been a good one. Our Jamie Howe is caught up with John Doonan, Director of Motorsports for Mazda in the future.
John Doonan, what a fabulous season of Star Mazda competition. Still down to the wire here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. When the season started, did you see it panning out this way?
Well, anytime you have a series that comes down to the final race with three drivers in a position to bring home the championship, it is exciting. I don't think anyone could have predicted this at the beginning of the season, but we knew Joel was going to be tough. Peter Dempsey came on in the middle of the season, and John Edwards, I think, was a surprise to all. So we're very proud of the program. We're proud of the ladder, the opportunity we give them. Now we just need to see how it shakes out.
Mazda has made a huge commitment to motorsports in North America with the Mazda Speed Ladder. The champion today is going to get a full season ride in Atlantics next year. What kind of commitment is Mazda going to continue to make in the future?
Well, the Mazda Speed Motorsports Development Ladder is really a critical part of our strategy. So we're proud to be able to give this champion the ride to Atlantic. It's part of our long-term strategy, so we hope to do it for many years to come and give every driver the chance to climb up the ladder in a Mazda or Mazda-powered car.
All right, the champion will also be receiving a cash prize, and whoever wins this one, guys, is also going to be the Rookie of the Year, so that just goes to show all of the young talent available in North American racing.
Pretty good prize package.
You know, Mazda's commitment to this series, to the Atlantic series, to driving and racing in general in North America is unparalleled. I can't look at many, you know, certainly American drivers who have not. Whoa, man, that was a Hail Mary.
At the corkscrew, sends one car flying off the track. That's Rusty Mitchell in that white machine, and it was Scott Reddick in the black car that drilled him.
That was a serious amount of contact there. Both cars, though, seem to be going on the way. Here you see Reddick just diving in last minute, all four locked up.
That was a fight for 12th position, too, Johnny.
One of the difficult things, Ralph, you come over the crest of that hill there, okay, and as you come over the rise and you start to go to the brakes, your front tires are light. So it's very difficult to do aggressive braking and overtaking maneuvers there. You know, in the old days when Zanardi pulled that on Herta, there was curbing up on the big curbing on the inside and outside of the corkscrew that could allow a maneuver like that to be less detrimental. But right there, Scott Reddick. That was a Hail Mary.
That corner has been reshaped quite a bit. Didn't work for Reddick. Richard Kent leads for now. Sunday, it's Wind Tunnel, the motorsports show where you never know who might show up. Jeff Gordon, Gene Simmons, or Ricky Carmichael to help Dave answer your emails and phone calls. Don't miss Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain, live Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, only on Speed. Back here at the season finale for the Star Mazda Championship presented by Goodyear, 12th round of the 2008 title. And right now it's Richard Kent, surprise pole winner. Early race leader has led this one basically all weekend.
Yeah, you know, and has just been a rock star. But right now, you see that Patrick Dempsey slowly easing into that lead. Now, if he can get within another 2 or 3 car widths, lengths of him, you know, then he can start doing those maneuvers, faking a pass, doing all these things to draw Kent offline that he needs to do. You know, right now with the racetrack being a little bit dirty, being a little bit sandy, if you can force a guy off his line, that can give you the opportunity to get by. Dempsey,
I'm sorry, Johnny.
You know, Ralph, Dempsey doesn't care what happens behind him. He's only got one thing to do, and that is win this race. And Richard Kent is the guy preventing that from happening right now. Kent looking so strong. Then you look behind Dempsey, and you see Edwards doing exactly what he needs to do, which is just stay in front of Miller if he can. But even if Miller challenges him at this point, let him go.
Well, we talked about the fact that mathematically Dempsey isn't out of it, but boy, would he need a lot of help. About really the only thing he can do to salvage something out of this season is to get a win here in this season finale, because the championships can be a pretty tough thing for him to get.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, the really surprising thing when you look about Edwards' season, you know, Edwards, in order to lose this, really has to finish out of the top 15 to Dempsey in that case. But when you look at Edwards, what's been so impressive, he missed the first race. And then, you know, his team, you know, led by, you know, Eric Purcell, who's a guy that, you know, has been working on Mazdas, since about the time I was running them. You know, again, he's got such a strong, you know, base behind him. But, you know, he didn't do Sebring, and still he's up there leading this championship. And, you know, so an outstanding job by that young kid.
Watching a fight back here for 8th position. Tyler Hackard and Patrick O'Neill. O'Neill there in the Ferrari Formula One looking Star Mazda entry.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm watching O'Neill. He looks like he's just a little bit loose going into the corners. There certainly was pointing into the corkscrew there.
O'Neill spends a lot of time on the West Coast competing on the tour out there as he drops down into the Andretti hairpin.
You know, one of those things, you know, you keep seeing it flash up on the screen, new fastest lap, and this is so wicked cool. You know, Kent does a fast lap, boom, Dempsey responds with the fastest lap, and he's closing up. He's about 2 car lengths down. Now, if he can hold that, if he can get through turn 11 and be that close, that is what he needs to do. Be very, very nice position to use the draft, get on by, but right now he's in a position to start putting some pressure.
Boy, he's right on it, Johnny. Down into the rainy curve. And the hill continues to drop out from underneath them as they sweep down through 10. And here comes 11.
Yeah, but Kent is really good in 10. That gave him a little bit of gap. They go through 11, carry that momentum.
Boy, Kent really starts to open coming up out of 11, doesn't he?
Well, he's really good out of there. I mean, and that gives him that, you know, 2 car length advantage going into turn 2 here. Oh, this is just such good stuff here. You're seeing 2 guys hitting their marks, no mistakes.
Dempsey doesn't seem to be dropping wheels as much either, Johnny. He seems to have tidied up his line a little bit.
He's there, and now he just wants to get in position. But, oh, man, Kent on the exits is just so strong.
He was very good through 4. Here's turn 5. Johnny, is that the car or is that the driver making the difference here?
Well, you know, obviously Anderson Racing. If I'm a young kid and I'm looking at a team to run for, certainly at the top of my list is Anderson Racing. They've provided all year long solid cars for their guys.
Well, they're 1-2 right now with Kent in front of Dempsey. Welcome back to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Ralph Shaheen, Johnny O'Connell, and Jimmy Howe with you for the season finale.
You know, I love that camera shot. You know, so many times on TV you cannot really appreciate the elevation change that takes place here at Laguna Seca. It is one of its most, enjoyable characteristics. That shot certainly gives you an idea just how much elevation you are gaining and losing in a very short time.
Well, look at this shot right here, Johnny. From a flat turn 11, the climb up the hill begins to turn 1. Crest over that blind rise there in 1 and starts to drop away from you again as you head all the way down through the Andretti hairpin and is continuing all the way downhill still.
Yeah, and a challenge going into turn 2 that you are breaking downhill makes it a little bit more difficult for you.
Here's the battle for 10th, 11th, and 12th. This is Kester, Reddick, and Goshen. Now there's a black flag. That's for the black car of Reddick. Remember, he was involved in that avoidable contact situation with Mitchell at the top of the corkscrew. So, Johnny, he's going to have to visit pit lane here.
Yeah, he's probably on the radio right now saying, why me? Why me? That guy turned down on me. It wasn't my fault. And Jerry Kraut.
Yep, problems for the 55 car. Kraut, who competes in the Masters division.
That is exiting turn 10, and he is thoroughly beached.
It's going to take him a while to get him out of there. And he is second in the Masters points, too.
And I would guarantee you that this is going to bring out a full course caution. Again, this is one of the frustrating things about this racetrack now. A guy gets off, he is stuck, he is beached. They got to get somebody to pull him out of there.
Caution not out just yet. And while they're trying to figure out what to do with Kraut, we go back to the battle at the front. And it looks like Kent has opened up a little bit of a gap between him and Dempsey.
Yeah, and what you're going to see Dempsey again, I mean, Kent is doing a super job. You talk about hitting your marks, and you watch him. You watch him before he turns into a corner, his head looking into his apex. I mean, Kent is really driving so well right now, using all the road, as you see Reddick coming in to serve his penalty.
This should be a stop-and-go penalty. Oh, and another one scattered out on the racetrack. That's Baker, and Johnny Baker has tore up his Anderson Racing entry. So between Baker's car and Kraut's car being stuck in the gravel, my guess is there's that yellow you were expecting, Johnny.
Yeah, and you saw Baker shaking his hand. I don't know whether he was holding onto the wheel when he hit something, but it looks like he's a little bit sore.
So Richard Kent leads, and John Edwards sits still in a podium position, which should be good enough to lock up the championship. Sunday on Speed, go beyond the highlights and beyond the stats as Speed connects you to the world of motorsports like you've never experienced before. The Speed Report, Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, only on Speed. Under a full course caution for the second time here today in Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Season finale for the Star Mazda Championship, and right now it looks like it's going to go to John Edwards if he can hang on to his third place position. He just needs to get on the podium. Richard Kent there has dominated this one, but Chuck Hall's dominated the Masters class. Here's Jimmy Howe.
Chuck, you're one of the oldest drivers in the field, but you're not just out there having fun. You grew up in the sport. Talk a little bit about how you got started.
Oh boy, my days of racing go clear back to prior to my father racing. If y'all recall Hot Rod magazine, the very first Hot Rod magazine ever produced was actually my uncle was the cover story. So that was volume 1, number 1 of Hot Rod. And shortly after that, my dad became involved in hot rods and jalopies and sprint cars and slowly made it to Indianapolis. Consequently, I was born just involved in the sport.
What was the first job that you had in racing?
Oh, that's an interesting story. My very first job at a racetrack was actually selling newspapers for Chris Economaki and Bill Marvel back then. And we'd go to sprint car races during weekends in between speedway races. And I would make a little extra money by walking around in the pit selling newspapers.
At what point in your life did you get involved in racing and driving?
Built my own car, or actually bought a couple of incomplete cars and put them together, and ended up with a car that we wanted to run California Racing Association sprint cars with, and we did that. It's a very limited budget, but it was a real experience. Learned a lot about the sprint cars.
At what point did you decide you wanted to come into Star Mazda, and why?
Oh, Star Mazda is more like a completion of things I've wanted to do all my life. I had to leave sprint cars just financially. It didn't fit. I had grown up, had a wife and one daughter at the time, and just had to start applying myself to earning a living. So basically had to put racing away until my later years.
What do you think your future is in racing?
Hopefully we can go into some endurance racing, stuff that is a little better for the older guys. You know, we're more, I'd like to say 85 to 92% racers, where we can make a car live for a long, long time, but we might not be able to squeeze that last 3, 4, 5% out of it every single lap like the kids do.
Yeah, a very interesting story there, you know, and but speaking on behalf of the endurance racers, we're at 102%, and we're not winding up in the gravel, or we're trying not to.
Do you remember your first job in racing?
Well, yeah, my first job in racing, yes, I do. It was working for free for the Jim Russell School back in 1984 so that I could drive. Is it a job if you don't get paid?
Yeah, well, mine was the same way.
Yeah.
Volunteered at the same place you were working Jim Russell.
This restart is critical, and the guy you always expect to see on the move there is Joel Miller, but he did not get a good enough jump to make the move on Edwards. This is where Dempsey's really got to attack hard.
He's got to make it happen now. Oh, and Scott Reddick just destroys the front of his machine.
Yeah, but that was sweet. He pulled it behind the barrier, so we're not going to have to go full course again.
Edwards, there you see him, the man chasing the championship today. If he stays right there in third, no matter what happens in front of him, he will be the 2008 Star Mazda champion.
Oh, man, and Alex Ardoin, I think, putting a little bit of pressure on Joel Miller there.
Yeah, and
Miller doesn't want that.
No, he can't afford that. He's got to get in front of Edwards and put some cars between the two of them. He can't worry about Ardoin behind him on the 51. Up to the corkscrew they go. Here's what happened to Reddick. Oh, Cummings just slices that wheel off.
Boy, you know, hard to figure out what happened at the end there. You don't know whether Reddick lost the front end moving in, and you had contact that way, but certainly game over for him. Dempsey dropping a wheel up front there.
Yeah, and Johnny, he was quicker when he was smoother, and now he starts dipping that wheel again. That's going to cost him time in trying to catch Kent.
It's a 10th here, a 10th there, and if that guy in front of you isn't doing that, then you're just throwing out an anchor. Alex Ardoin, remember, won this race last year. It was his last Star Mazda victory. You know, a guy that has got just a ton of talent, but a frustrating season for him.
Yeah, Ardoin has just not made it to the top step of the podium this season, something we all expected him to do more than once, the way he was performing behind the wheel.
You know what? I'd love to see him, and I'm not dissing his team, but I'd love to see him in a team that's got, you know, maybe a little bit more history in it, you know, like Anderson Racing, or running with Ricky Cameron as your engineer, or Eric Purcell. You know, those are the guys consistently have been at the front year in, year out.
How about Richard Kent, Johnny? What kind of an image is he leaving for these team owners? If he comes to Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, sits on the pole, leads every lap, and wins this thing.
He's going to be, you know, he's going to be the guy that the teams are going to be wanting for him to call, or calling him, pursuing him, because, you know, you win a championship, man, as a team, that just gives you so much strength.
That's the first mistake we've seen him make all day. He dipped a wheel coming out of turn 3.
You know, Dempsey should see those things and say, okay, man, there's an opportunity for him to make a mistake, but right now, I guarantee you, Dempsey is using all that he can. Kent is looking like a complete rock star. And the other thing is, you know, for these three guys, okay, at the front, Dempsey, Miller, all that kind of stuff, they want to leave on a high note, and Richard Kent could ruin that.
We'll be right back for more as we work our way towards the completion of the 2008 season. Back to the season finale here at Laguna Seca. There's John Edwards, came into the race with a 9-point lead over the man who's running right behind him in 4th place on the racetrack, Joel Miller. If Edwards makes it onto the podium, no matter what happens in front of him, he will be champion today. And he said, Johnny, that he was not going to race too easy, but he wasn't going to take any crazy risks. He's done just that, and the strategy is paying off.
Yeah, you know, he knows what he needs to do. Ideally, he wants to win this race. You know, he mentioned he wants that 5th victory. But, again, there is a bigger picture. Do you want to win that last race so that, you know, tonight you can have a huge, gigantic party? Well, it's going to be huge and gigantic no matter what if he wins that championship. But going out with a win is always a nice thing.
O'Neal in the red car battling with Rosen.
Oh, they bring each other in a little bit too deep.
Oh, look at the move to the inside, Billy Goshen. Boy, he went from 10th to 8th. 2 cars, 1 corner.
Nicely done, and that's one of those situations where you're back there, you see things being going on in front of you, and you can create your own opportunities. Billy Goshen certainly did that in that corner.
Driver out of Brea, California, in that orange machine. Here's how he did. He's the 4th car in line. Watch this.
All right, these guys start pushing themselves wide. An opening happens. Boom. 1, 2. Nicely done, man. And, you know, those are moments where when you pull a move off like that, you're like, yeah.
Whoa! Tyler Hackard at turn 6, sliding way off into the dirt. Cost him 2 spots.
Well, and what happens here, you know, and you don't realize that, he dragged a ton of sand and dirt on the racetrack, but he also ruined his tires for the next 4 or 5 corners. So you don't only lose the track time gathering yourself up, but you also lose so much track time getting all that dirt and gravel out of your tires.
Well, Chris Cumming had a problem earlier, got involved with Reddick, and now he's on pit lane, and Jamie Howe is there.
Significant amount of damage to the front of the number 16 of Chris Cumming. The crew's replacing the front wing on the car. Chris is also going for a championship today. He's chasing that Experts Class championship for drivers ages 30 to 44. He needs to win this one. He's already won a number of races this year, so he's going to get back out and just turn as many laps as he can.
So the crew trying to fix that machine to get him back out and see if they can get his title locked up. Rick Rosen, there you see him, in the 30 car running in 7th. Rosen was one of the benefactors of that incident with Dempsey and Ardoin at the end of the race at the last round in Road Atlanta. Rosen ended up on the podium.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's results like that that breed better results. All of a sudden you say, oh my goodness, I'm on the podium. I deserve to be up here. And you find that little something extra to get yourself further and further up the ladder, closer to the front. But you know what? To break the stranglehold that our top 3 protagonists have had on the season, really, from the 3rd or 4th race on, man, that's hard to do.
Well, and there were 5 races right in the middle of the season where Rosen did not compete. So, you know, had things gone his way and he was able to run those 5 races too, it might be further up in the points. Goshen inside the top 10 in points. Coming into this race, he was a podium finisher at the first round of the doubleheader out of Portland.
Guys having a good battle. Again, you doing the chess match, you know, trying to figure out where that competitor in front of you is a little bit weak, where you might be able to set him up for a pass. Laguna Seca, though, with its elevation changes and with its beautiful corners, it's got such great rhythm, such great flow. Turn 10 there, that is one of those opportunities where if you're close to a guy, you can outbrake him coming into here. Turn 11. That generally leads into a long, long drag race down the front straightaway, and then another overtaking opportunity going into turn 2. Got to get close, though.
Goshen was great to the inside through the Andretti hairpin, but that door doesn't open this time. Well, we are down to the final few laps here for the 2008 championship. Come back and join us to see if we crown John Edwards as our new champ. Down to to the closing stages here at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, and look at this. A new car in second place. John Edwards needs to finish on the podium to be crowned champion. Well, he's making that even more likely as he now moves himself into second place.
Yeah, and just at the end of that screen, you saw back there Joel Miller really carrying it in too deep.
That's what happened. Dempsey goes way wide at turn 6, and Edwards capitalizes before they get to the corkscrew.
Boy, and I got to tell you, you know what? Pretty strong move by Edwards there, because you know that Dempsey would be fighting you. He would not have a whole lot of grip on his tires, risking contact like that with a championship on the line. Difficult thing, courageous thing, and you know, Edwards doing what he needs to do. Again, he did say he wants to win this race, and it is still, you know, within his grasp.
Well, now he can at least see if by running some good laps, if he can reel in Kent, and then depending on how things are going, maybe you take a shot at it.
Yeah, you know what? If that opportunity presents himself, but I mean, Kent has been at the top of the leaderboard almost every session. This kid is so strong, and really is showing these guys a way around this racetrack.
7th, 8th, and 9th now drop down through the corkscrew. Goshen having gotten around Rick Rosen to take over 7th, and O'Neill bringing up the tail of that pack of 3.
You know, and what Goshen is doing, okay, yeah, it's at the end of the season, but when you finish a season with a strong race, a strong result like he's doing right now, okay, maybe he's not going to be on the podium, but he's going to be able to look back at Laguna Seca and say, God, you know, I should have had this happen at Sebring. I should have had this happen, you know, at Moseport, you know, and you just have that in yourself. And right now, you know, Billy's doing a super job that, you know, can be, you know, fuel for him in the offseason to really motivate himself and come back next year, you know, in a position with the mindset, this is going to be my year. But you have to, you know, Ralph, in the offseason, be thinking about that. You have to, you know, hypnotize yourself, psych yourself up for that first race at Sebring and saying, I am going to win the championship. I'm going to build and do everything I possibly can to make sure that I'm the guy.
And Richard Kent might be that guy. We might be talking a lot about him next year, the way he's performed here today.
Well, that's one of Coach should be doing is praying this guy doesn't come back. How impressive, you know, your first time, you know, to do a full race here and to dominate the way he is.
Well, and had he had the chance to run in Moseport, well, and O'Neill is around, headed to the corkscrew.
Yeah, but no harm, no foul. He'll just have lost a couple positions.
Back underway.
Couple corners, get all the gravel, sand off those tires. You know, ran it way, way too deep. Now, 6 is such a hard corner here at Laguna Seca because you're coming up a rise and then you fall into your apex. It's a little bit blind as you go in there, and the amount of camber that you have in the corner doesn't match the rest of the corners. You can see the cars just drop into there, boom, pounce back out. You see Dempsey right there on the back of Edwards trying to make a battle out of that.
What was interesting, Johnny, was how far up off the exit of 6 he was.
Oh yeah, no, it can spit you out if you're not close to your apex. You know, for a race car driver, what's the most important part of the corner? Well, to me, it's to hit your apex. You get to your apex, you're not going to have a problem. But you know, turn 6 is one of those areas where you can miss an apex by a foot or two, and if you're, you know, at the limit of your car, and whoa,
checkered flag coming out a little early, but guess what? Richard Kent is going to be your winner, and that would be by about 3 minutes early, according to the official time clock.
Man, that came out of nowhere, and I can guarantee you there are going to be some pretty angry competitors out there saying, what the heck was that?
One of them will not be this guy. Oh, there's why. We had a car off the racetrack, Taylor Hackard.
Yeah, but you know what? I'd have let that one run. You know, I mean, just to have a standing yellow there, let these guys bring it out to the end.
Well, and that will put Edwards on the podium and give him the championship. Well, the championship is in the books, and John Edwards will be listed as the 2008 champ. Richard Kent gets the final victory of the season. What a weekend for Richard Kent. He shows up, wins the pole, wins the race. Now he's in victory lane with Jamie Howe.
Richard Kent, your very first Star Mazda race, coming home with the win. How were you able to do this today?
Oh, I don't know, I'm speechless. It's fantastic. We came here after only 3 days in the car. We knew we'd have speed, but we've just come here and we've done the job. I've got to thank everyone in the team. They've worked so hard all this week, well, especially over the weekend. Chris, my mechanic, Remy, the engineer, has been fantastic. The car didn't have any problems with it throughout the whole race. Just the whole team's been fantastic all weekend. That's all I can say, really.
Well, we showed you the top 10. Here's 11th through 20th. And one name we need to talk a lot about was Ron White showed up here. Johnny was a big story last year, but didn't really make much of a dent into the season.
We didn't hear the story. He didn't even qualify the car. So I'm guessing after qualifying, they just decided to make a driver change, and he made it happen today.
Well, here's Jamie with our new champ, John Edwards.
John Edwards, you finished second today, but that doesn't matter because you've just clinched the overall championship for 2008. Did you feel any pressure at all going in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the highest pressure race of my life, but, you know, you just got to treat it like any other day. And I wanted to win the race, like I said, and, you know, before we raced, you know, I wanted to win, but I wasn't going to take the risk to win. And Dempsey and Kent were really pushing hard to get those lap times out. And we saw when Dempsey went off, and Kent and both of them were dropping tires everywhere. So it was, I was just going to lag back and, you know, stay ahead of Miller and win the championship. And luckily Dempsey gifted us a second place, and we got winner's points since Kennan isn't in the championship. So it was a really great day.
With all of the caution periods, do you think that helped you or hurt you a little bit throughout the course of the race?
Well, the car was kind of going away a little bit as we did more laps, so I think the caution gave us a chance to cool our tires off a little bit, but it didn't matter. I don't think we would have gained or lost any more than we did without the caution, so it was, I mean, really just a great day. I got to thank A Motorsport. They've done an awesome job. Keith Willis, the team manager, has put together an incredible team with my mechanic and my engineer. All through the year, I had all the faith in the world in them.
Now he goes on to Atlantics with a big gift from Mazda.
Yeah, you know what? Mazda helping his career out. Again, you got to appreciate what they do, but it's a whole new ball of wax going into that series, but he should be well prepared.
Well, Peter Dempsey held on for third. He's with Jamie.
Peter Dempsey finishing third, still on the podium today, but you had a little bit of an off and giving up second. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I was here really just to try to get a win. I mean, if I had got a win, I would have finished the most wins of the season, and I just gave everything I could, you know. Unfortunately, around Laguna Seca, it's always going to be difficult to pass. I mean, I finished the race the fastest lap. To be fair, Richard did a great job, you know. He's came in, he's performed really well all weekend, and I have to hand him, I didn't have anything for him in the race, apart from just trying to sit there behind him. But, yeah, I made 2 mistakes just trying to push to the limit, and unfortunately we didn't get a 1-2 for the team, but it's been a fantastic year coming over here my first year, and still been with a chance of winning the championship. Going to the final round was a serious turnaround, so I'd like to thank the team for this year, especially Anthony Murray as well, who's been a huge help to me this year, and I never got here, but unfortunately couldn't bring it home in the top step, but at least I brought it home in one of them.
That's right, and he did bring it home on the top step 4 times this year, so not a whole lot to complain about in this season.
Chris Cummings had his problems today, but he hung on to win the Expert Class Championship in the Star Mazda Series. Chuck Hulse got his 8th win of 2008 today, wins the Masters Points Championship, and he's with Jamie.
Chuck Hulse winning the Masters Championship this year. We know you had a lot of fun doing it. How was the race today?
Race was real good today. We got tied up a couple of times, sort of got pushed off a little bit, got lucky on the restart, and a couple of guys tangled up. We came back. Big thanks to JDC Motorsports, Star Mazda, Goodyear. What a great time this year. Hope to come back.
Well, Johnny, here's a look at the overall points. Edwards came into the race with a 9-point lead over Miller. He'll leave with 16 and a championship.
Yeah, and awesome for him, especially having Miss Sebring. But all 3 of these guys at the top, you are going to see over the coming years involved in motorsports and operating in the top 5. These guys are all very solid.
And maybe we'll see a lot more out of Richard Kent in 2009.
That would be awesome for this series. You know, again, ending the season the way he did, awfully strong. I know he's going to want to come back.
For Jamie Howe and Johnny O'Connell, I'm Ralph Shaheen. Thanks for joining us this season, and congratulations to the 2008 Star Mazda champion, John Edwards. So long, everybody.